Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 6. The Wild Man in His Lair. Cities, like forests, have their caverns in which all the most wicked and formidable creatures, which they contain, conceal themselves. Only in cities, that which thus conceals itself is ferocious, unclean, and petty, that is to say, ugly. In forests, that which conceals itself is ferocious, savage, and grand, that is to say, beautiful. Taking one lair with another, the beast's is preferable to the man's. Caverns are better than hovels. What Marius now beheld was a hovel. Marius was poor, and his chamber was poverty-stricken. But as his poverty was noble, his garret was neat. The den upon which his eye now rested was abject, dirty, fetid, pestiferous, mean, sordid. The only furniture consisted of a straw chair, an infirm table, some old bits of crockery, and in two of the corners, two indescribable pallets. All the lights was furnished by a dormer window of 4 panes, draped with spiders' webs. Through this aperture there penetrated just enough light to make the face of a man appear like the face of a phantom. The walls had a leprous aspect, and were covered with seams and scars. Like a visage disfigured by some horrible malady, a repulsive moisture exuded from them. Obscene sketches roughly sketched with charcoal could be distinguished upon them. The chamber which Marius occupied had a dilapidated brick pavement. This one was neither tiled nor planked. Its inhabitants stepped directly on the antique plaster of the hovel, which had grown black under the long-continued pressure of feet. Upon this uneven floor, where the dirt seemed to be fairly encrusted, and which possessed but one virginity, that of the broom, were capriciously grouped constellations of old shoes, socks, and repulsive rags. However, this room had a fireplace, so it was let for 40 francs a year. There was every sort of thing in that fireplace: a brazier, a pot, broken boards, rags suspended from nails, a bird cage, ashes, and even a little fire. 2 brands were smoldering there in a melancholy way. One thing, which added still more to the horrors of this garret, was that it was large. It had projections and angles and black holes, the lower sides of roofs, bays, and promontories. Hence horrible, unfathomable nooks where it seemed as though spiders as big as one's fist, woodlice as large as one's foot, and perhaps even, who knows, some monstrous human beings must be hiding. One of the pallets was near the door, the other near the window. One end of each touched the fireplace and faced Marius. In a corner near the aperture through which Marius was gazing, a colored engraving in a black frame was suspended to a nail on the wall, and at its bottom in large letters was the inscription, "The Dream." This represented a sleeping woman, and a child also asleep. The child on the woman's lap, an eagle in a cloud with a crown in its beak, and the woman thrusting the crown away from the child's head without awaking the latter. In the background, Napoleon in a glory, leaning on a very blue column with a yellow capital, ornamented with this inscription: Marengo, Austerlitz, Iena, Wagram, Elet. Beneath this frame, a sort of wooden panel, which was no longer than it was broad, stood on the ground and rested in a sloping attitude against the wall. It had the appearance of a picture with its face turned to the wall, of a frame probably showing a daub on the other side, of some pier glass detached from a wall and lying forgotten there while waiting to be rehung. Near the table, upon which Marius descried a pen, ink, and paper, sat a man about 60 years of age, Small, thin, livid, haggard, with a cunning, cruel, and uneasy air. A hideous scoundrel. If Lavender had studied this visage, he would have found the vulture mingled with the attorney there, the bird of prey and the pettifogger rendering each other mutually hideous and complementing each other. The pettifogger making the bird of prey ignoble, the bird of prey making the pettifogger horrible. This man had a long gray beard. He was clad in a woman's chemise, which allowed his hairy breast and his bare arms, bristling with gray hair, to be seen. Beneath this chemise, muddy trousers and boots, through which his toes projected, were visible. He had a pipe in his mouth and was smoking. There was no bread in the hovel, but there was still tobacco. He was writing, probably some more letters like those which Marius had read. On a corner of the table lay an ancient, dilapidated, reddish volume, and the size, which was the antique 12-month of reading rooms, betrayed a romance. On the cover sprawled the following title, printed in large capitals: God, the King, Honor, and the Ladies by Ducray Dumenil, 1814. As the man wrote, he talked aloud, and Marius heard his words. The idea that there is no equality even when you are dead. Just look at Père Lachaise. The great, those who are rich, are up above, in the acacia alley which is paved. They can reach it in a carriage. The little people, the poor, the unhappy, well, what of them? They are put down below, where the mud is up to your knees in the damp places. They are put there so they will decay the sooner. You cannot go see them without sinking into the earth. He paused, smote the table with his fist, and added as he ground his teeth, Oh, I could eat the whole world. A big woman, who might be 40 years of age or 100, was crouching near the fireplace on her bare heels. She, too, was clad only in a chemise and a knitted petticoat patched with bits of old cloth. A coarse linen apron concealed the half of her petticoat. Although this woman was doubled over and bent together, it could be seen that she was of very lofty stature. She was a sort of giant beside her husband. She had hideous hair of a reddish blonde which was turning gray, and which she thrust back from time to time with her enormous shining hands with their flat nails. Beside her, on the floor, wide open, lay a book of the same form as the other, and probably a volume of the same romance. On one of the pallets, Marius caught a glimpse of a sort of tall, pale young girl who sat there half naked and with pendant feet, and who did not seem to be listening or seeing or living. No doubt, the younger sister of the one who had come to his room. She seemed to be 11 or 12 years of age. On closer scrutiny, it was evident that she really was 14. She was the child who had said on the boulevard the evening before, I bolted, bolted, bolted. She was of that puny sort which remains backward for a long time, then suddenly starts up rapidly. It is indigence which produces these melancholy human plants. These creatures have neither childhood nor youth. At 15 years of age, they appear to be 12. At 16, they seem 20. Today, a little girl. Tomorrow, a woman. One might say that they stride through life, in order to get through with it the more speedily. At this moment, this being had the air of a child. Moreover, no trace of work was revealed in that dwelling. No handicraft, no spinning wheel, not a tool. In one corner lay some ironmongery of dubious aspect. It was the dull listlessness which follows despair and precedes the death agony. Marius gazed for a while at this gloomy interior, more terrifying than the interior of a tomb, for the human soul could be felt fluttering there, and life was palpitating there. The garret, the cellar, the lowly ditch where certain indigent wretches crawl at the very bottom of the social edifice is not exactly the sepulchre, but only its antechamber. But as the wealthy display their greatest magnificence at the entrance of their palaces, it seems that death, which stands directly side by side with them, places its greatest miseries in that vestibule. The man held his peace. The woman spoke no word. The young girl did not even seem to breathe. A scratching of the pen on the paper was audible. The man grumbled without pausing in his writing. Cannelle, cannelle, everybody is cannelle. This variation to Solomon's exclamation elicited a sigh from the woman. Calm yourself, my little friend, she said. Don't hurt yourself, my dear. You are too good to write to all those people, husband. Bodies pressed close to each other in misery, as in cold. But hearts draw apart. This woman must have loved this man, to all appearance, judging from the amount of love within her. But probably in the daily and reciprocal reproaches of the horrible distress which weighed on the whole group, this had become extinct. There no longer existed in her anything more than the ashes of affection for her husband. Nevertheless, caressing appellations had survived, as is often the case. She called him my dear, my little friend, my good man, etc., with her mouth, while her heart was silent. The man resumed his writing. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. And while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.